The mainstream media, entertainment corporations, and the news organizations they own are furious. They are enraged like you have never seen before now that Bob Iger has opened the door to more legal settlements with President Donald J. Trump. Iger has empowered Orange Man Bad in their view, and they are ready to throw Disney and Mickey right on overboard. We'll tell you the story like you cannot believe, but will when we're done right now. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the place that is changing hearts and minds, telling the truth one video at a time, and happy to do so. Welcome back. It is an attitude of gratitude we have each and every single time you choose to spend time with us. Truly, thank you for inviting us into your day. Folks, we'll get underway. We ask that you click the like button, and without further ado, here's why they're mad at what Bob Iger has done that, in their view, has destroyed the news industry. All right, folks, the mainstream news media, they're in big trouble, and the entertainment companies who own them are in big trouble. We talked to you earlier in the show today about the fact that Disney is facing major pushback for what they've done from the news organizations because Disney has opened the floodgates. Now we're going to bring it to you. David Enrich says down here, new, Trump and his allies are using legal threats to intimidate news outlets and others that criticize or question him and his cabinet picks. The trend seems likely to accelerate thanks to the ABC News settlement. In other words, Disney, you screwed up and you screwed over all of us. In fact, Brian Stelter from CNN joins in on the fun and says, the top story on the New York Times homepage this afternoon, Trump and his picks threaten more lawsuits over critical coverage. Written by David Enrich, who has a book coming out next year, The Weaponization of Libel Law and the Campaign to Limit Press Freedoms. Now, to give all of you just a brief review, Trump has beat George Stephanopoulos. Bob Iger decided to strike a bargain with Trump, pay him $16 million, $1 million of which will be paid by Stephanopoulos, the rest by Disney ABC, in order to settle a lawsuit where George Stephanopoulos clearly, distinctly, and 10 times over said something that was absolutely heinously untrue about the former and now upcoming president, and the president has now won in terms of getting the settlement with the lawsuit. And what is striking fear in the news organizations, who are owned largely by the entertainment corporations, and you really can't make too much of a distinction between them anymore, what's striking fear in them is they could be next. Bob has opened Pandora's box. Let's see now what this author of the New York Times article that is, captivating and enrapturing the thoughts and minds of those in the mainstream news organizations who are furious. Let's hear what he has to say about the whole thing, and then I'll show you an article that goes even further into the rage they feel towards Disney today.
So let's start with that ABC News settlement. They're paying $15 million in that settlement, plus $1 million for Mr. Trump's legal fees. They also added an editor's note on the interview page website. It reads thusly: ABC News and George Stephanopoulos regret statements regarding President Donald J. Trump made during an interview by George Stephanopoulos with Representative Nancy Mace on ABC's This Week on March 10th of 2024. David, how strong a case did Mr. Trump have in this lawsuit, and how usual is a lawsuit like this in the first place?
Well, lawsuits like this have become increasingly common, and this is a tactic that Trump decades ago began pioneering, and he has just been banging this drum more and more loudly ever since.
So I just want to interrupt for just briefly and say, what he's saying here is that there's a new strategy, which is if you make false statements about somebody, they sue you for making obviously false statements against you. I mean, these people are numbskulls, but they're angry. They're furious because the idea that they're simultaneously going extinct and they're being held to account for what they say is just too much. It's a double duo of damage that they cannot handle anymore. A few more words from him, and then we'll get the panel.
It's a tactic that's caught on, especially in MAGA circles, but really in politicians, business leaders, companies, big organizations are increasingly using defamation threats and defamation lawsuits as kind of a cudgel to attack unfavorable news coverage. And the reality in this case is that, according to everyone I've spoken to, Trump's case against ABC News seemed not great. And there are very strong protections built into the First Amendment and how it's interpreted by the Supreme Court that give the media and others a lot of leeway when they are scrutinizing powerful individuals.
So in other words, you can lie about public officials and not be held accountable. That's what he's suggesting. The other issue here too is you'll hear what he's saying, that he's talked to everybody. Everybody who's important. This guy has talked to them, and they all say this, Disney should not have settled it. That's the implication here. Disney has betrayed the news organizations by doing this. And this is absolute insanity. But folks, listen, they're losing their minds over this. Take a look out of the Hill by Dominique Mastrangelo and Brett Samuels. ABC News settlement with Trump sends chill through the media. Now remember, this is Disney. This is Disney. Disney that owns The View. Disney where there's a legal statement just about every episode of The View with Sonny Hostin coming out there and looking like a hostage and saying, we regret to say that da-da-da-dee-da-da-dee. ABC News' decision to settle a defamation lawsuit brought by President-elect Trump is sending a chill through the media, with press organizations suggesting it is a major blow. It should not be seen as a normal for powerful elected officials to wage legal campaigns against members of the press and their employers. Caroline Hendry, executive director of the Society of Professional Journalists, told The Hill on Monday, we are concerned that even the perception that media organizations must offer large payouts to settle legal challenges from public officials will have a chilling effect on the kind of independent and fearless reporting that our nation needs to hold the powerful to account. Apparently by lying on, 10 times, that's what they got to do. Jonas, I got a question for you. Can I just start with you, Jonas, and ask, if you don't lie about somebody, can you lose one of these? Like, is that it seems to me pretty simple here. Just don't get out there and repeatedly lie. And if you do lie, correct it as quickly as you can. Like, Jonas, I bet me and you will make a mistake at some point. And if we do, we'll try to correct it, because that's how you handle this. And then you don't hopefully get sued, maybe. Jonas, your thoughts?
Either one. Well, like, this is so funny that they're going over the top. If you know what this said, obviously it's the word that we are not going to use, but for those that like superheroes, it rhymes with cape.
Yeah, tape and cape.
Tape, vape. Anyway, it was over the top what George Stephanopoulos said. It was a complete 100% utter lie. And I think that the fact of the matter is Trump had an excellent case against Disney. Otherwise, Disney's lost over and over again. I don't know what happened in their legal team. Do you remember, like, back before the pandemic, everybody said Disney could never lose a legal case because they have the best legal team ever. Remember that?
Been a rough year. Been a rough year for those people, Ron.
Yeah, been a rough year. But you're 4 or 5 years now, because Disney's lost everything. They lost to DeSantis. They lost. They're losing to Gina Carano. They're lost to Trump. Disney for years set the precedent for greatness and was on the winning side of everything. And I just feel like they've been losing literally everything lately. And the press being mad at Bob Iger for settling a case that was, this is ridiculous. It just boggles the mind that they're mad that they can't lie anymore. Like, we are the mainstream media. We just want to lie and be able to have, First Amendment protection for our lies. It's
right. Lying seems to them to be synonymous with freedom of press. I don't really understand how that works, but they think it is so. Derek,
I'm trying to understand, like, hasn't like libel and slander been something people have been sued for throughout the centuries? I mean, you can't lie about public officials and think you can get away with it. So yeah, they're literally mad that the news organizations can no longer lie. They can't just flat out lie, or they're going to get called to the carpet for it, and they might have to pay some money. That's what they're upset about. That's absolutely ridiculous. And that shows you exactly why media has gone downhill, because they have been able to bank on making up stories, making up fake news, telling whatever story they want to tell. It's not that George Stephanopoulos did that one time. He did that multiple times over the course of that single interview. And he just kept beating that point home to the point where it's like, okay, dude, you have to know that this is wrong, what you're doing. And he didn't stop. He just kept going at Nancy Mace with that same comment. So I'm sorry, man, you can't lie, and you're going to be held to account. And now that they're being held accountable for what it is that they're doing, now they're mad. Oh, we can't preach our lies and our fake news anymore. Come on. Like, you should have never been doing that stuff. But I'm glad to see it. I'm glad, and I'm so happy that it's happening to Disney, because Disney seems to be the major progenitors of this nonsense, so good.
Yep. Dana Walden, right? Dana Walden, besties with Kamala Harris. She's over the TV side of things. Stephanopoulos is under her as part of the ABC News division. And they're all furious because they settled. But I'm here to tell you, they settled because I believe they didn't want to get into depositions. They didn't want to open the doors and find out what's been going on behind the scenes. Can you imagine? Yeah. Can you imagine? Folks, listen, why did Disney, of all companies, decide to settle with Orange Man Bad? Can you imagine if the court had allowed the attorneys for Trump to get in there and look at emails between Dana Walden and Kamala Harris, if they exist? Wow. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Okay, let's go to this. All right, because I can imagine this. This is out of the New York Post by Ariel Zilber. It says George Stephanopoulos' comment that led ABC News to $50 million lawsuit settlement with Trump seems to hold up. Who said it? An MSNBC host. In other words, now these other companies like NBC and Comcast, they got to be freaked out. They're trying to sell this channel because it has no ratings. It's bringing in no revenue, right? This is a loser. This is a stinker. They've lost something like 54% of their ratings, we believe. So MSNBC, not only are they a huge detriment and they're for sale because they're so terrible, but they're also playing with absolute fire, because as soon as the ABC News settlement happens from Disney, now Comcast and NBC have got to look at this and say, oh my gosh, like, why do we have these people on our station that nobody views trying to get us sued? Here's the article. An MSNBC host said ABC News anchor George Stephanopoulos' comments that led President-elect Donald Trump to file a defamation lawsuit against the Disney-owned network seems to hold up, despite the fact the company agreed to pay $15 million to get out of this. And it turned out to be 16 by the time it was over. Simone Sanders Townsend, host of Sundays the Weekend with a dozen viewers, talk show on Comcast's left-leaning cable channel, said ABC News paying the settlement feels like it has a real chilling effect. Sanders Townsend, a former spokesperson for the Biden White House, said during the broadcast that what Stephanopoulos said about Trump being liable for tape seems to hold up with what the judge said after the fact. Yep. She basically came in and doubled down at a time when it's the other company suffering and her company isn't. She came in and said, you know what? Hold my beer. Hold my beer. Marvin,
that's too funny.
Marvin, could you just give a brief explanation for the folks out there? I mean, with that Park Place, for example, where you're the editor-in-chief, we have conversations behind the scenes where we're really careful with what we report, how we report it. We try to be truthful. And it seems like these other big companies have never had to do this before. And suddenly they're terrified of a reality where they cannot lie ad nauseum. Does it make you nauseous to think about that?
Yes, because nobody ever held them to journalistic integrity before. And that's the thing that we try to pride ourselves on, as journalists in the space, is you have to try to report the truth as it exists. You have to try to not legally implicate yourself by saying things that are categorically false about other fellow human beings. It's not that hard to do. It's just a matter of people feeling that they have to be right and that their narrative is the true one. And these big news organizations like ABC, they're used to being able to peddle whatever narrative they want, whether it's true, false, or otherwise. And that the public will go along with it. The politicians will go along with it. The celebrities will go along with it. Even if they push back, nothing's ever going to actually happen because of it. Well, here comes this guy who is a disruptor in every sense of the word, and he's going to disrupt this status quo, which is what he's been promising to do since 2016.
Yep,
absolutely. The idea that this is a cudgel, that this is a weapon that conservatives are using now, that's their claim, right? That's what they say. The idea that that's a reality is
the truth is a weapon. Is that what they're just being able to?
Exactly, Derek.
You have to tell the truth, folks. You have to be honest about what it is you're reporting, because that has an effect on the larger world. That's why people get sued for libel and slander and things like that. You can't just make up stories whole cloth, or you can't try to distort the facts just a little bit, tweak them here, tweak them there to make your narrative, the dominant narrative. You can't do that. And I don't understand why people that have gone through I don't know if they went to school for journalism or not. I have no idea. But I took journalism when I was in high school. Okay, I was the editor-in-chief of my paper. And I was told by my class counselor, hey, we got to be accurate. We got to be factual. We cannot tell whatever story we want to tell when it comes to reporting news just around our high school. So, I mean, you're talking about the entire country. Come on, guys. You got to be factual. You got to be honest. You got to be correct. You got to be true, even if you don't like it, even if you don't like the story that's being told, you know, which is, again, why media, Elon keeps saying we are the media now. And that's the reason why, because they've lost their integrity. No one believes them anymore. You know, because the truth is so obvious, and then they come and they try to spin it into something else. And it's like, oh, okay, these guys over here at ABC, they're clearly lying. And here they are settling a lawsuit. That tells me everything I need to know. Don't listen to these guys anymore, because they'll lie. They'll tell all of this nonsense, everything about Trump. They'll do that, and then they'll have to pay up later. But I believe that they're foolish. I believed all of that when they said it the first time. So now I feel like a fool. So now people are just starting to say, you know what? I don't trust mainstream media, legacy media, because they have an agenda and they're going to lie about it.
Absolutely. They've lost the audience, and now they're losing the legal battles. It's why the mainstream, lamestream, dinosaur, going extinct legacy media is furious at Disney, because Pandora's box has now been opened and the truth must be told. The truth, I believe, is they did not want depositions to get into. Those emails that could have existed between ABC News, Dana Walden, and the Kamala Harris crew, that could not be allowed to see the light of day.
Now, what's going to happen with Gina Carano? It's probably going to be the same thing. You would have to imagine they're going to eventually try to settle with her, because they don't want those emails opened up either, I'm pretty sure.
I think they might be willing to give Gina anything and everything to prevent Kathleen Kennedy's emails from going to the public. Folks, it's time to bid you adieu, but we hope that you will help us anew, and that is, we're only asking you click that like button. Share, subscribe, click it, stick it to those algorithms. It is the notification bell, and drop a comment down below. And oh, by the way, have you gone the way of thatparkplace.com? www.thatparkplace.com. It's the website that if you're not yet bookmarked to, well, you should be. A bastion of truth and knowledge when it comes to entertainment and everything that's going on. Go check it out today, folks. We would love to have you over there as well. All right, we are getting ready to head out, but do not fret, for we will put out 4 more videos tomorrow, so long as the good Lord allows. And we believe that probably, just might, happen. All right, until the next time we get to share time with you, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.